So hello and welcome everyone. Just so my body isn't awkwardly shaped for online folks, I'm going to have a seat, but I did want to formally welcome everyone here to our session. In case you're wondering what room you're in, understanding the landscape of AI and talking about workforce shifts. So I'm Mikelle Bryson-Campbell. I'm Executive Director of the Sarnia Lambton Workforce Development Board. If you're not familiar with the work we do research into the workforce, identify areas of need, and then develop research projects to help address that. One of them being AI. AI, we've learned through our research, is not clearly articulated in terms of data for Lambton County. This project began to really understand, is AI being used locally? How's it being used? Are employers advocating for use of AI in their businesses? And what, if any, policies exist to support employers in adapting this technology? So hence this panel came to fruition. So before I get into the flow and introducing our lovely panelists, I wanted to begin with a land acknowledgement. We are located in the area of Lambton County, which is located on the beautiful homeland that is the traditional territory of the Ojibwe, Potawatomi, and Odawa First Nations. These three individual nations make up the traditional Three Fires Confederacy. We acknowledge the grace and welcome they have offered to all residents. So thank you to the folks. We have many folks joining here in person today. You've probably noticed we have a laptop here in front of us. We have, I can't see how many, but quite a few folks joining us online as well. So I'm going to introduce the panelists. We have some preset questions focusing in the areas of expertise and interest of our panelists here: agriculture sector, HR, and the business world. We're then going to open it up to a Q&A to the audience members, virtual members, of course. So for folks joining virtually, at any time you can put questions into the chat. And folks here, if you have questions, feel free to write them down until we get to that section. And after the panel, if you have time to stay and mingle for a bit, we're going to bring out some light refreshments. Sorry, virtual folks, nothing for you, but except the knowledge you're gaining. So without further ado, let me introduce our panelists. John Musgrave. John Musgrave is a business and leadership coach who leads with intention, bringing human-centered leadership and responsible AI adoption. John's investment in AI has already delivered measurable time and efficiency gains, both for himself and his clients, enabling leaders to focus more deeply on people, purpose, and thoughtful growth. Thank you for joining us, John.
Hold your applause.
Sajad Ahab is a professor and program coordinator for agribusiness and sustainable agriculture at Lambton College. His work focuses on sustainable agriculture and greenhouse production. He has hands-on experience with indoor and greenhouse cannabis grown to pharmaceutical standards, and industry experience with DuPont Pioneer in crop production and research. Sajad studied both at McGill and Queen's University. He teaches and mentors students in practical farming, controlled environment agriculture, and molecular biology. He works with industry partners to connect plant That was a lot of acronyms and a lot of information, but thank you all for joining here today. So let's get into the real reason folks are here. It's not just the yummy snacks. So Sajad, we're going to start chatting a bit about the agriculture sector. A broad question, but is AI transforming agriculture in Lambton County?
First of all, thank you so much. Thank you for coming. It's a little bit difficult if you don't know the audience, but the good thing is that they give us some questions, right? So AI. So when Shivani reached out to me, so I was a little bit surprised that why Shivani is interested in AI, because in academia, AI stands for what?
Artificial intelligence?
No, academic integrity. So I was thinking why the board is interested in academic integrity, but my surprise was finished very quickly because Shivani told me that okay, it's artificial intelligence. Yes, before jumping into the artificial intelligence, we all know that the world population is increasing day by day. According to the FAO reports, by 2050, the world population would be around 10 billion. And the food demand will grow about 70%. So with the increasing population, the farms and the land is decreasing and the demand for food is increasing. So what is the solution? And there is another problem with agriculture, which is now we are facing, and that is the climate change, unpredictable weather patterns, and the skyrocketing input cost. So the agriculture is facing many problems. But with AI, I believe that it can help us solve some problems. It will not solve all problems, but it will help solve a lot of problems. For example, it will increase or it will help us sustainability. It will help us to reduce the input cost. It will help us to promote climate change stewardship. So these are some of the benefits of the artificial use. But now what is the main thing about, or what are the main pillars of the AI? So I believe, in my opinion, AI has three main pillars. One is data collection, which is so important because the data is the base for the decision making that we will be making after the data collection. So the data collection is so important, using different technologies, different devices like satellite images, sensors, some drones, and all those things. And the most important thing about the AI is that we cover all the field, not just limited data, but it actually enhances the capacity of the human beings because it increases the data points. So before AI, we will be just relying on less data, but with the advent of the AI, we will be having more access to more data, and more data means more informed decisions. So data collection is important. After that, the second pillar, I believe, is the analysis of the data. If we are unable to analyze the data, so that is of no use. Okay, so data analysis is one of the important pillar as well. And then the third pillar, which is in my opinion will be the recommendations and actions. So these are the three main pillars of the AI. So in my opinion, AI, actually with AI, we are moving from gut feeling and little data to more informed decisions. And that decision is based on more data points, so more reliable data, so more reliable data means more informed decisions and correct decisions. So that is one of the important points. So we are basically moving from just little data to more informed data. And that's one of the important things about the AI, and that's why the agriculture is moving from that.
So when we talk about, this more data, do you see this as being impactful for small farms here in Lambton County, or is this more the large scale operations?
To be honest, like, like always the big guns, they have a bigger piece of the pie. But having said that, the smaller farmers should get benefits from the AI. But I can give you an example, like for example, in greenhouses, we have very high-tech greenhouses, then average tech greenhouses, and then low-tech greenhouses. So similarly, the small farmers may have like access to smaller devices, or like the devices that can be easily available or cheap or affordable. So yes, the small farmers can benefit from the AI, keeping in mind that we have to give them access. So, but now here the important point is the role of the government. The government should make sure that speedy internet is available to the far-flung areas, and reliable internet work. And also, they should initially subsidize some of those subscriptions and some of those devices, so that small farmers can also have that devices.
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks for sharing that perspective. So flipping a little now to the HR side. So Lisa, how is AI reshaping HR in terms of recruitment or hiring, or is AI reshaping HR?
Yeah, so AI is it's reshaping HR, but it's reshaping all workplace processes. And like Saja said, it's it's changing how we collect data, it's changing how we analyze data, it's changing how we make decisions. So that impacts every piece of the HR process that we do. The other piece is that HR is particularly well positioned to support whatever business they're in, to adapt and change and grow the workforce to also adapt with everything. So the way that work is being done is changing. And so people's skills have to change, because we have to change from, previously being the ones to input the data to now being the ones to maybe analyze the data or take that the next step. And so everyone needs to be reskilled and upgraded. And I heard someone speak at a conference recently who said, AI isn't going to replace jobs. People who learn how to use AI will replace jobs, right? And so HR is really positioned to help organizations and their businesses figure out, what does that mean for us? How do we do that? How do we talk to people about it? How do we train? How do we skill up? What parameters do we put in place? And so that's really what is going on now, because the government in Canada anyway hasn't put in enough parameters for employers to know what they're supposed to do. So it's a kind of the Wild West out there, and every HR conference I've been to in the last couple of years is just primarily focused on how do we support our businesses. So our processes are changing, but that impacts how the business will interact with whatever their HR process is.
Right, no, absolutely.
And this question actually is my students and some of the farmers, they always ask me this question: Are our jobs are in danger? But I just told them just one thing, that your jobs are not in danger. The reason is, I can give you a few examples, like the agriculture revolution. Remember, we were just having a few farmers and farm workers and horses and stuff like that. But when it mechanized, so it created so many other jobs, like fertilizer industry boom, pesticide industry, and then the distribution, trucking. So it creates so many jobs. And I can give you the example of the automobile industry, like before the horses, right? So automobile industry, one came in, so people, few people may have lost their jobs, like, the horse stable boy, or the blacksmiths, they may lost their jobs, but look at the industry now, and you can imagine that how vast it is now. Like petroleum industry, the gas stations, and then the agronomist, and then the researcher, fertilizer industry, pesticide industry, seed industry. So how much it cost, increase the job opportunities for people. So in my opinion, in my belief is that AI will follow the same pattern. So
if I could share a similar example, think about when Excel was created and came out in the 1970s. And accountants thought, oh my goodness, we'll have no more jobs. Well, that didn't happen. We still have accountants, but they have a new tool. And they've had to learn to use the tool. And previously, people would manually calculate things on paper. And obviously, Excel can do that better. But we've learned to adapt and use it, and look at how far we've come since then.
Absolutely. And do you see any sort of, especially around HR and this new use of tools, are there any ethical concerns that folks should be concerned about?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think from an HR perspective, that's one of the things that we struggle with the most are the ethics and the privacy as well. First, on the ethics, the data, right, it learns, which means data has to be input. And so the data going in, right, garbage in, garbage out. And so if there isn't a wide variety of important data going in, we're only going to be replicating what we've already put into it, which might be limited. So that could impact many other ways of thinking or ways of doing or ways of being that really don't necessarily align with that one way. So there's that piece right now. There's, and you can speak from an academic perspective, but using AI versus not. So there is legislation in place in Canada or in Ontario anyway, that says if you've used AI in your recruitment process at all, you must declare that in the recruitment process, right? So there's a little bit of legislation coming out, and how you use it, obviously, right? For, we've already been struggling with, fake applicants applying to jobs, people ghosting people, right? So there's kind of all of this happening already, and that's going to continue to impact things. So it's important that we learn, we educate ourselves, and we say, well, what do we need to know? What do we need to learn? And that from a business perspective, right, you put your own company perspective point of view, and you share that broadly with your employees, right? So you're setting the stage right now, recognizing it's a bit of a wonky world right now that we don't have clarity on.
That's very true. Thanks for sharing. And speaking of the business side and the business world, John, what would you say are the opportunities for community development or business development through AI, or are there any?
Well, first of all, we were on your TV the other day, and they called me an AI expert, and I said that was using that term very loosely. Scott Rodcliffe is here in the room. I took his 6-session course, and it gave me a substantial amount of information about AI. And as a little joke, because as men we abuse each other through affection, Scott said to me, how do you think you were when we started, and how do you think you are today? And I said, I think I was at 10%. Like, I was doing more than most people, and I think I'm at like 30 today. And again, this is guy to guy, which is, he went 2 and 6. And so there's so much to learn. The growth opportunity, the business opportunity, it's a tool. Exactly. It's like a horse and plow versus a combine. It's versus a pencil versus an Excel spreadsheet. We can't be afraid of it. We need to use it to do the heavy lifting. And if you don't use it, your competition is going to be using it. And I love the line that they won't replace jobs, they'll replace AI who know how to use AI, will replace jobs. And that's one thing Scott said. You'll be replacing the jobs of 6 people not using AI by using it. So the ability to use it, to be familiar with it, to get the stuff done in the business that's sucking your time, that's killing you, that's getting in your way. Find ways to automate that. Find ways for AI to support that, and then you can work on the business. I still think people matter. I still think relationships matter. I said they're always going to. We're going to go from 8 to 10 billion people. There's a responsibility. There's an opportunity to lead, to take care of people, to make things happen, to make lives better. AI is just simply a tool. It's going from horse and plow to massive combine, and we need to learn to drive it.
Yeah. Can I build on that a little bit?
Absolutely.
And I agree with you, and I think that AI is giving us the opportunity to be more human, because you're taking those things that can be automated and tedious and data input, and then using the human to do that next step, and to focus on the interaction, the relationships, the people, the analysis, that part where you have all that automated, and then you can actually change that narrative to say, well, it's not necessarily taking jobs. It's giving you the opportunity and opening up the space to add more humanity into the work as it is.
And we need more humanity, because we're sort of pulling away with that with social media and everything else. Another story though, and it applies to this. In my 20s, I was in leadership when the internet was coming out, and the fire and brimstone and the threats and the scary and the world's changing and it's going to get so fast, and the people in their 50s in the room were freaking out, and us the young people, we were like, let's do this. And I wasn't around with horse and buggy, I'm not that old, but I was there, and now I'm here and I'm in my 50s and this is coming, and I'm not afraid of it. Like, it's just something that's coming. And I made that terrible reference. The internet came and they said all this stuff, and now most people order things or look at dirty pictures. Like that's what most of it's used for now. So like we were so afraid of it. It's a tool. It's here. We're using it. The same thing I think is going to happen today is use it, get involved, find out how it can help you. We did a project that would have taken us 40 hours, and it took us 14, myself and Adam. And when we presented it, the people we presented to said it was one of the best presentations they've ever seen, and could we train everybody else? And we tipped out of the room giggling, going like, we probably did 40% of it. So don't be afraid of it. Use it. It's there. It's a tool.
But I think the government and the society as a society have a role in this as well, because we have to train people. So training is a key, because AI is not like a simple thing. It's a very complicated thing, because softwares are involved in this. So proper training from is very obligatory for this, because and the market has to adopt. So because some people may lose their jobs, of course, but we have to train new people. Without training, I think it will be a little bit difficult. So that's the reason that, like Lambton College, I think it's actually is launching a brand new programs. One is agriculture automation, and automation is just like AI. So with AI and automation is almost similar thing, right? So and another program is sustainable agriculture. So these two programs in Sarnia, I think, are brand new programs, and I hope that we will train some students and they will join the workforce.
Yeah, that's great, excellent, and certainly needed here in Lambton County. So John, just thinking of something you mentioned in terms of the training side. So we know some folks maybe aren't reluctant to use it, but don't have the technical expertise. Can they use AI? Like, how do we train folks that are perhaps not tech savvy? And I'll put myself in that category as well. How would you train me to use AI, I guess?
He's staring right at me. But I'm telling you, he's fantastic. But start, like I will tell you, I have a mentor. He said that to have a really good business, you have to have a strong R&D department, which people think it means research and development, but he meant rip off and duplicate. So I've taken what Scott's trained me, and I'm training my people. I'm giving them exposure to it. Now, mind you, Scott, when I give it to them, there's a big banner at the top that says from Scott Rodcliffe and your website. But whenever I go in and just simply show them, the level of excitement is high, and you can get a return right away. Like you can literally get a return almost instantly. And then you just have to find somewhere, someplace, someone who can guide you through that to get you stronger. But it's like pickleball, right? Like everybody can start playing today, and some people are really good at it and some people aren't. But it's not to be afraid of. Try. You won't blow it up. Scott, can you blow it up? You haven't tried, you haven't found a way? Yeah, you can't blow it up. Just start and try, and then go find somewhere, someone who can guide you to be one day, hopefully 6% of knowledge. Yeah, I saw the numbers. 7? So I've upgraded. Yeah, just start. It's not to be afraid of.
And this is probably a question directed towards all of you. How do you manage that fear and resistance and say, so just start, but how do you sort of manage folks that are saying, oh, I might blow it up?
If you're looking at it from an employment perspective, you want to find your champions, your early adopters, your people who are already using it. If in your workplace you haven't put parameters around how to use it, people are just using it anyway in ways that you aren't giving them parameters for. So ask and find those champions, right? You're going to have those people. You're also, though, going to have a group of people who are going to be, I didn't jump on board, but I'm willing to do training. And then you're going to have a small group of people who are going to be resistant. And then I think from that perspective, you're going to want to find out what's behind the resistance, right? And then from a workplace perspective, there's a lot of reasons, right? It could be fear. It could just be they're overwhelmed, they're busy, they don't have time, something bad happened. It could be privacy concerns. And then I think it's important to really address the fear in order to help get them on board as well. But really finding your champions and leveraging them and making sure they have the right education and the training and they know what they're doing and they're, you know, working within your expectations as well.
So, good. So in agriculture, I believe we don't have so much issues because in agriculture, it's not, AI is not a new thing. It has already been now practiced. So the only thing is that I think we need to give them a little bit more training. That's the only thing, but agriculture has already started AI. I mean, they are using AI, though it a little bit like in embryonic stages, but still it will grow with the passage of the time. So for agriculture, I think that is not a big issue because people are now learning. And the good thing about these days is that in the previously, you know, when one technology came in, so there was not like side technologies that can help you. But nowadays, you know, like all those technologies are so much like you have internet, YouTube videos, and so many things. So they have synergistic effects, you know. So they combine with all those things, so they get the training very quickly. But without AI, agriculture is not possible anymore. So they have to do it, and those people who are a little bit reluctant, so they will not be in that shape, you know.
Lisa made reference to the 60 cheerleaders or 20 cheerleaders, 60 middle and resistors. That's perfect because that is how most groups go. But there's also a structure, and it's got two terrible words in it that have bad connotations. And please bear with me. It's a graph, and you start out before you start anything. You have unconscious incompetence. You don't know what you don't know, and then you move to conscious incompetence. Holy crap, that's a lot more than I expected. And then you move into conscious competence. Okay, I got it. And then you move into unconscious competence. And the way to do it is learning to ride a bike. When you're a kid, you see your buddies, you see your friends. Oh my gosh, that's great. You get on the bike, you fall down the straight knee, you kick the bike, you go home. Then you're learning to ride the bike in your car. And then as you get into unconscious competence, you just ride your bike. We have to go through all of those things. As leaders, we have to know where we are, first of all, and get our skills up. But you have to find out where your people are and support them and train them to that. If they're in unconscious incompetence or conscious incompetence, sit beside them, show them, do them, give them the chemical injection into their head of success in the tool, and then build on that. Because I've seen it. Haven't come across somebody who blatantly refused, and when I show people the process, everybody's jumping on. So just know where you are, know where they are, support them, guide them, be the leader they need at that time for that level, and get them some excitement, get them some wins to encourage further use.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you made reference to that chart. When you see it kind of written down and figured out what quadrant you're in, it's actually very helpful to land somewhere in terms of if you want to learn AI or not. So thanks for sharing that, John. So Sajad, back to something you mentioned. You talked about the rural internet. This is something I think of often. Do you think something such as internet use or not being available to drive to training, for example, would impact the agriculture sector here?
Internet. I think I was reading a paper or something. So, you know, like the paper was saying that, you know, internet should now be like in every house, every office is like as a built-in thing. It's not like, you know, some companies, so the builder should, you know, like put the internet right away, like when they are building a house. So without internet, life is not possible. And agriculture is the same thing. So agriculture is no exception. The only thing I believe is that, again, the government should make sure that, you know, like fast internet is available for the small farmers as well. And, you know, like there's another thing, Internet of Things, like, you know, as we are, like socializing with the internet. So now the devices will talk to each other, and they will just make decisions, and they will just, and machine learning, that's another thing, like the machine will just learn by itself, educate. Like I was just a student, I didn't know anything, but now I know a few things. So, like, so the machine learning is also, but without internet, I think it's not possible. It is a part of the game. It's an integral part. Without internet, nothing can happen now. So it is an important piece of the puzzle.
And it just made me think of this, and again, he's probably gonna pay me for today. Scott said this: train your AI as well, because it's a vast tool of data collection that does it beyond the speed that we could even comprehend. And you made reference to that. The quality of data that comes back is strong, but it's remedial, and it's in the new stages of unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence. Like AI is still building and learning. So whenever I ask it to do something, I qualify it and have it go back and do it again. Then I take it away and I do my edits to it so it's right. And then one of the details was put it back in the project in that thing and say, here's what I did. From what you gave me, this is what I created. Please learn from this and do that formatting, that style, that presentation going forward, and teach it to learn as well. Not only are you taking care of your people and training your people and training yourself, AI is that tool, and it is trainable. I wish it was faster and better at being trained, because I do have to go back sometimes and reprimand it a little. And when it's not a person, you don't have to be nice and cordial and that, come on. but train yourself, train your people, train your AI.
And we can we can connect this with the jobs, like machines cannot learn by itself. So you have to teach them. So so who will teach the machine? Like what is, like, for example, in agriculture, what is a weed and what is a crop? So the machine cannot learn by itself, right? So first we need to teach them, and then machine learning can kick in and they can just, do their stuff. So that's why we need people still. So without people, it cannot be done.
Absolutely. And as we hear about the growth of AI and as training becomes more available, and Lisa, this is probably a question best directed to you. Do you think, policymakers and perhaps the government should have more of a role in creating policies, or should it be an organization kind of level, I guess?
I think the key pieces right now are around the privacy and confidentiality. Right? So we already have privacy laws in Canada, and they're different depending on what province you're in, and depending on what industry you're in, right? So medical professionals, the medical industry, for example, has a whole different set of how they manage medical information and medical data. And so where the biggest challenge is how is that data being managed? That is, I think, one of the biggest pieces that will help guide how other companies and workplaces will then implement it, right? Because it kind of becomes an additional piece of legislation that, as a business, you need to follow. If you get too prescriptive, then you start getting right into other messy ethical areas. So, right now where we're at, it looks like really focusing on privacy, making sure that your information is safe. Because I see where a lot of employers and workplaces are kind of pulling back and saying, well, I haven't given my clients or, my employees or whoever has not given me permission to share that information with AI. Right. And so then you're contravening, right, whatever privacy laws apply to you. And so that's a big piece of work that people are just saying, okay, well, then we're just not going to use it. Right. So I think it's in that kind of immediate short term is really focusing on that to clarify, what does that mean? What does it mean to different industries? What does it mean to different workplaces, different businesses, different sizes? And I would say that's really should be the focus of kind of government direction at this point, from kind of a workplace perspective.
I wonder, if you sort of had a crystal ball, do you see organizations or businesses going to that step of saying to folks, by the way, I'm going to put your information into AI? Will there be like a form for that, or what would that look like?
Yeah, I think eventually it'll get to the point that says, if you carry on past this step, you're giving us permission to do that. Right. And then what would happen is the business would have their own policy to say, here's how we're going to manage and keep your information safe. Right now, I don't know that we can say, here's how I'm going to manage your information and keep it safe. So if we can't say that with confidence right now, then we can't do those other steps. But yeah, eventually it will get to that point. We're in this transition phase, I think, where we don't know what we don't know.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. No, great point. So Sajad, you mentioned, greenhouses and AI use in greenhouses. Do you think this will be used, or perhaps it already is, to promote more sustainable practices?
Yes. So what is sustainability, right? So actually, AI helps it reduce the inputs. Like for example, maybe a decade ago, we used to fertilize, like for example, the field, or we provide them indiscriminate use of pesticide or a blanket cover of the whole field. But now, with the variable rate technology, so it's possible that, we just find the problem, where the problem is, and then use only or address that problem only. So it reduces the inputs, which reduces the cost of the input, and it reduces it improves or promote sustainability, and it also promote climate change or climate change stewardship. So in greenhouses, yes, all those devices, they are used. It's actually help us to, for example, fertigation, right? So the AI will tell us, the sensor will tell us that when to irrigate or how much to irrigate. So these are just the tool in the hands of the master grower or the decision makers. So these decisions will help, to reduce the input cost, and input cost means like sustainability, and sustainability means environmental stewardship. So absolutely, I'm a great fan of technology. I'm a great fan of AI because, the other day I was I was a guest speaker. I was a keynote speaker at a conference on climate change. And can you believe this, that whatever we predicted, after 2 weeks, whatever we predicted, it happens in Pakistan. So the flood came in, and so many floods came in August, like you may remember those things, and maybe you may watch those in TV. So we predicted whatever we predicted, so it happens. So climate change is coming, it's real, and AI is helping to reduce, the impact of the climate change. So I'm a great fan of AI. Absolutely promotes sustainability.
Great. Thanks for sharing that. So as I look to this panel, we have a great representation from the sectors, HR and agriculture and the business world. How do folks like you and your sectors collaborate more to ensure that AI is really being innovative, but also can perhaps serve some social good as well? How do we make these things connect more?
Having the conversations, sitting in the front of the room, having people come and participate. I think that's a significant opportunity for us, though, because as I sit here and think of do I know where there's any training? Do I know where there's any collaboration? It's not happening enough. We should do it much more.
As far as the farmers are concerned, I believe there is no harm in sharing the data. What is in the data? Like, for example, like a diseased plant or a healthy plant. So I'm encouraging the farmers here. They should share the data with other farmers, so the data collection becomes a little bit easier, and have a shared data pool so that everybody can take the data from that machine or that safe thing. So it will help them, for new farmers or small farmers, they can also take advantage of that data pool. So I believe that I would encourage the farmers, they should share the data, and of course collaboration with the high-tech companies, and the high-tech companies should also reach out to small farmers, because we are always targeting the big fish, but we should also encourage to, as a society, especially in the initial years, right? So because we are still figuring out we are the AI use and stuff like that. So I think, in my opinion, I would request the big guns and the big companies that they should also make something for the small farmers and new farmers. So I think that it's the collaboration is required for. Okay.
Thanks. Thanks for sharing your perspective. So as we are quickly approaching, or we are here at the 15-minute mark, which I'd like to leave at least 15 minutes for Q&A, I'm going to wrap up with a closing question for you all. So if you had a crystal ball and can look ahead, I was going to say 10 years, but what I'm hearing, perhaps 5 years, what would AI use look like in human resources, in agriculture, and for local businesses?
I mean, I would see it as another tool, right? It's another tool, it's part of onboarding, it's what we do, we've got processes, we have policies, we have guidelines, we have what good looks like, we have ways to deal with it when it starts going sideways, we have ways to train people, and that, you know, the workplace is going to be a little bit more stable at that point. And this tool is whatever it looks like is really embedded into how we do everything. I don't think it'll be clear and kind of smooth by then. I think there'll still be a lot of people still in that resistance bucket, who are still holding on, because there are some jobs, there's still a lot of jobs that we're going to need to keep. So it'll still be transitioning at that point.
Interesting.
So I think it will be a new normal after 10 years.
Yeah.
Everybody will be using AI. 2 people will be running a big farm. The drones and the Internet of Things, they will be talking to each other, and 2 or 3 people will be just managing the whole farm, and it will be a quite normal thing for me. I think it will be just, we are now using internet, and I still remember that when I was in first year, back in, I think, too long. So when we were exposed to the computer for the first time, we didn't know how to switch it off, so we just unplugged it. And now, we are playing with internet and all those things. So I think it will be new normal, and everybody will be using it, and no hustle and bustle, nothing. I mean, quite normal. Data will be sharing, and devices will be working. Drones will be spraying. The data will be collected. So I believe that in 10 years, AI will be much mature to do its stuff by its own, and people will just who are watching things, and just to support the AI. And also, but the decision making will still be with the farmers, like with the decision maker. And sometimes I used to, talk to farmers and my students that, AI will be a great digital master grower or assistant to master grower, right? So it will recommend you some decisions, and then you will apply. You will just feel it and see it. If it is good enough, then you will apply those decisions. So I think that would be, in my opinion, that would be the things. Yeah.
As an identified expert, I don't know. I think we just need to move, adapt, learn, and change. One thing, and I tried to say this on our TV spot, and I got pulled short. Lee Worthson from Tomorrow did a presentation in 23 and in 24, and he said everybody showed in 23 and the advancement in 24, and it was almost to the year, and it was incredible how much it changed. I think, and I heard this on the internet, so it has to be true, that AI is upgrading every 3 months. It's not even in a year or 5 years or 10. And again, I wish I had a crystal ball. But the one thing I want to say is they were talking about self-driving cars at the thing with Libertson. And they're saying that they trained the cars by people driving. And one of the problems was we all roll stop. We don't do a full stop at a stop sign. We do the look and we go. So AI is like, okay, so when you get to the stop sign, you check, and if it's okay, you still go. And the programmers were freaking out. They're like, oh my God, they're not stopping the stop sign. And they overrode AI to say, no, don't do that. The stop sign, you have to stop. And I'm like, don't do that. We have to stop because we're limited. We have a short attention span. We're doing this. I'm trying to get my makeup ready for the show. Like there's all these distractions. AI doesn't need to have that. And when it happens, they're going to be communicating. We won't need stop signs. We won't need roundabouts. It'll just go. When you're working with it, when you're growing with it, don't put your human parameters on it to stop it. Let it do what it can do and take advantage of that work for you. But where it's going to end up, I don't think we're going to be the Terminator, and I don't think they're going to take over. But it is going to change. It is going to change drastically, and we just have to move with it and be ready.
Thanks for sharing, and I hope we can all get together in 10 years and rewatch this video and see if we were spot on or
I'll
if we
send
were
my AI robot.
perfect. That, yes,
I'll send him.
that's, yes.
He's better looking than that.
So we will move into the Q&A portion. So all of your burning questions you have been sitting here milling over, we are happy to get to those. First, Shivani, has anyone put anything into the chat? I didn't see anything pop up, but virtual folks, if you have any chat questions, Shivani is monitoring the chat and is happy to read out the questions for you. And if not, we will move to the floor. Yes.
Yeah,
Michael.
so I've been working on a program with AI and just thinking about you guys talking in the presentation today. And I think about my children in school right now, right? So we can think of when we were there, we had to memorize the times table, right? And then the advent of the calculator, are you going to be able to use that right now with AI, right? They're able to pull up that information. But do you feel there'll be a chance where we'll, like, the base knowledge that's in my head that I had to go through and learn everything, is that going to just not be there for people? Like my knowledge of why there's a tax table and what levels those are at. And
So if I can speak to that, I think what's important is the theory, right?
yeah,
So it's important we understand theory, but where we need to go when we're training, say, employees, is we need them to train them to think critically and think analytically. And that's really hard to do without understanding that theory. So I think there's always going to be place for that. Obviously, it'll be slightly different because you don't have to do all the work, right? But you still need to know where the theory comes from in order to be able to have critical thought. Right?
I agree completely. Like I took economics in university, and I had to take calculus and algebra at the university level. And speaking of it now, it's triggering me. I'm getting a nosebleed. I never used it. I don't ever use it. But it taught me to think. It taught me to be a critical thinker. It taught me to be able to problem solve. As long as we're still doing things in our minds and in our children's minds to give them that muscle memory of thought and problem solving, I think we'll be okay. But to restrict it to what we did maybe isn't necessary. I take advantage of this fully. Like one of the interview questions I ask to people when I'm trying for a job is a simple math question, and they explode, like their heads explode in the thing. So we can't do it, but we're still able to solve. So however that is, doing the work to build your mental capacity to be a critical thinker, as long as you're still doing that, we'll be capable, but it'll be a different measurement, I think. Is that, Lisa, is that what the,
Yeah, that's a great point. Definitely something we hear a lot from folks. This fear of what are we losing? What kind of critical thinking skills are we losing? But it sounds like if we still build that into how we're training folks, that we can, perhaps
And just
increase that.
a quick thing to add too, I think for myself, I've become much more critical of everything I see. So personally, I don't believe anybody else I see, I don't believe anything I
So true.
see. So it's changing a bit.
Yes.
But I think if we just automatically accept everything we see as truth, right? So I think there's
Great
definitely
point.
training and learning that'll have to go in that.
I believe there will be a little bit change because like when we were just doing calculation with our hands, so we were so quick. But with the advent of calculators, we become a little bit slow. So I think there could be, in my opinion, but there could be some issues with the critical thinking. But because I just recall my students are using when I give them an assignment, so they use sometimes AI. And I told them that, like the AI is not permissible for this assignment. I'm not against AI, but for certain assignments, I need them to think critically on their own. So I think we need to change the type of the trainings, like what kind of assignment we are going to give the people so that they can still, they can think critically, but the AI should be used as a tool, not as a critical thinker. So I think that's depends on the role of the governments and the trainings, so that how we train the people or the new generations. So what I did, So they were using AI, and all I was just marking AI. So I just give them a video assignment. Okay, so just for example in a lab, so I just give them an assignment. Okay, so you have to make a video and explain each and every step. So I mean, it was a
Scott
little
could
bit,
beat that.
yeah. So it changes. Like they still use AI, but like still they used to the critical thinking. So I mean, the training should, or the perspective of the training should be a little bit changed. So this, in my opinion, maybe after 10 years or 20
Yeah,
years.
well, it's great to hear from the education side that
Yeah.
those pieces, at least by some, are kind of put into place to sort of, train your brain in that capacity as well. Any other questions? Yes.
Yeah. My question is directed at Lisa. So I think my biggest concern with the hiring and job postings and everything like that when it comes to HR is I can very quickly see it coming to a place where it is just AI job seekers interacting with AI job posters, which I mean it has kind of two problems. One is people who aren't using AI are completely out of the equation because the AI is just going to be so much better at knowing what this AI bot is looking for. And then B, are we really even getting even remotely qualified candidates, or their AI just did a good job? So I don't know, can you speak to that
Interesting.
sort of how do we combat that?
Yeah, and I mean, and I think that, so there's a couple pieces there. One is, sure, have them talk to each other. It's a job I don't have to do, right? So but again, it's humanizing the job. So the job is then to say, okay, you've done all the data, and again, it comes back to the point of good data in and good data out, right? So if the job seekers have the education, are putting the proper information in, and the employers are pulling the right information out, where I see it being particularly important would be the hiring manager would have to be very clear of what they want. Again, it's about the data inputs and the different points. So if you are really super clear on what skills, knowledge, and attributes you need to get that job done well, then that's probably a good solution, right, in the short run. Obviously, we come into those ethical things and the access and accessibility and all of these other pieces, which I think is where we're at now that we need to deal with. So in the future, that's not a bad, place to be. But it does bring up all those questions of how do we do the proper training? What policies do we need? How do we actually make sure that accessibility is still relevant? And we need to build that now so that we don't get to that point where it's just, right, kind of garbage and only a small select group of people can take advantage of it.
And I wonder if that would then shift the interview process, making that perhaps a different, not just that quick 20-minute back and forth, but maybe it's having folks come in and, demonstrate or.
Yeah, and I mean, and the kind of the test for work or test for interview is already becoming more popular, right? So even if you get to that point, you've made it past the AI, you've made it past recruitment, you're talking to the hiring manager, it's still recommended that you test that person to say, okay, now let me see you doing the job, right? So you're going to have different ways to qualify kind of the people, but you still need to be really clear on what you need in that job in the first place. So I think it'll overall make the whole process more streamlined, but it'll change where we put our emphasis.
And in some companies, I have seen that they, they invited candidates for the whole day. So they just go on lunch and, they do their normal stuff. But that's not normal stuff. It's basically an interview. So, I mean, it will change a little bit. So, of course, things will change a little bit with technology. Things will always be changing and we have to adopt. So I think that's the key to your question. So adaptation is important.
Yeah, so the complaints that I'm hearing out there is that it's a lot of hoops to jump through for job seekers, right? Is that now you're on step 3 before there's a human even involved. And so the drudging of getting to an actual interview is can be a lot. So yeah, I think that's probably why we're seeing more of them using. So they probably also maybe why we're seeing more ghosting of jobs is because the people who are using AI for this is just I just applied for 4,000 jobs. I'll sort through them after once I get through the interview process.
So I think in my analogy could be the use of the cell phone, right? Like 20 years ago, not everybody was using cell phone, like maybe in Pakistan, right? But now everybody is using cell phones. So AI will be like, everybody will be using it. So there is no way that, I mean, like if you have to compete, so you have to use AI. So that's the thing here, like the training comes into play. So we need to train people. And everything will be shifting now. Everything will be changed now. So it will be the old days, the old days will not work.
Results will matter too, because if you make it tedious for people to get to the job, the talent's not going to do that.
Mhm.
And if you're getting no talent, you're going to modify and change. When we were kids, we could break into vending machines, almost any vending machine with a coat hanger, and then they changed the purpose and they double closed it. We couldn't get chocolate bars with a coat hanger. You adapt to the problem and you change it. So if you have a long process in your interview, you have to have a thorough process and due diligence because you're bringing the right person in. But if it's too long, the people qualified aren't going to be there. So results will dictate behavior. But as a separate note, I was helping a client we were interviewing, and I was just calling these people for a phone interview, and nobody answered. Like I was like, nobody answered. And I'm like, what is going on? It's like 4:30 in the afternoon. And then I'm like, oh, and because I was hiring younger people. So I wrote the name of the company in the text and I texted, and then I called them like, oh, hey, how are you? Because they thought I was a scammer. They thought I was somebody and wouldn't answer their phone. I grew up in a time when your phone was on the wall and you had no idea who it was. Hey, but I had to text them to get access. So, but yeah, if the process is killing it, it'll change. My friend stole the chocolate bars. I didn't steal the chocolate bars.
Any other final questions as we wrap up here? Yes, at the back.
My question is to Lisa. So many times when I apply for job, most of the recruiter they ask for the consent whether our resume is assessing through the AI or not. So my question is that when candidates don't consent to AI screening, do most recruiters take time to review manually, or does the slow down the limit and lose their chances? Like do they review manually?
Yeah, I think it would depend on the individual organization's policies. My sense is that the recruiter will probably not have time to review it and will probably skip over it. Recruiters, it's a very intense, time-driven, results-driven job. And as it is, they don't have time, right, to do a lot of the things they need to do. And so I don't know the exact answer, but my sense is that. Yeah, that's, so if you don't consent to it, I imagine it will reduce your chances probably of getting a job.
Kind of a follow-up to that, like, are there any like legal or ethical concerns about that? Like ageism just as one small thing, like you're essentially saying.
The laws have not caught up.
Yeah.
So yes, the answer is yes, right? But until it goes through the courts and we have court cases and set precedents, then you know, it's kind of
Good luck.
unknown right now.
Yeah.
One thing too, just as a bit of a tip, is last weekend, I think LinkedIn in Canada will now use your information to train its AI. But there is a button that you can go into to turn it off if you choose to. So that was something that was interesting that I found. It just kicked in, I think, November 2nd.
I saw the pilot for that. Sunlight paid for it. So essentially, Sales Navigator. I would put in someone's name as a lead. It would then go and scrub the entire internet for that person, pull in their interests, and then put it into a message to introduce yourself on LinkedIn.
Yeah. So stuff is happening without your knowledge anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That caused panic in the room. That's fantastic.
Everyone's like, my LinkedIn.
We don't love
So if you follow me on LinkedIn, I did share the post on that.
Yes, oh, there you go.
Yeah, just now it's that.
Yeah, so and it's because in Canada, for some, you know, finally there's now legislation that says, hey, LinkedIn, you need to tell Canadians you're doing this, right? And so that's kind of my interpretation of how that's happening. Right? Is slowly these things are coming to us. It's all happening anyway in the background.
Yeah.
Is that fair? Because I have a real life experience. I applied to a company, so I was just trying. I just said no to assessing my resume through AI. Then they said, this time you are not selected, unfortunately. Then again, when I applied and I say yes to AI, then I got selected. And because I have the same person, I have the same experience and everything. But one thing I say
mean, we shouldn't be afraid of AI, right? So I mean, like,
Yeah.
why not just like the ATS, like applicant tracking system. Right? So I mean, just use that software. Your resume should go through the ATS system, and like and just comply to AI. So because like it depends on the positions. If like this position, so many hundreds people have applied for that position, right? So it's not manually or humanly possible, right? So it has to go through AI. So I mean, if I were you, I will just
Say yes.
check the yes, check that box.
Life is not fair.
Yeah.
So I said it.
Okay, well, I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank you all for joining. And to our virtual folks, thank you so much for joining us. We realize everyone is so busy, but thank you for carving out the time. I wanted to give a huge thank you to the panelists. John. Much for giving up your time and effort and expertise. I also would be remiss if I did not say a big thank you to my team here, especially to Shivani, the project lead, who did all of the background work to get to this place. And I just get to stand up here and make it look like I did it all. But Shivani was the behind the scenes person who brought us all here today. So thank you for that, Shivani. I encourage you all to mingle, have some snacks. And, Carla would be angry if I did not say we do have a survey that we ask all folks to complete on your way out. You can either get it back to us right away, email, whatever works. Helps us improve when we do these things for the community. Virtual folks will also have one pop up shortly as well. So thank you all and have a great rest of your day.
I have one request to the audience.
Yes.
As I mentioned that, we have two programs, they are brand new. So we need some members for our PAC committee, program advisory committee. So it will take only 3 to 4 hours per year. Okay, and it will be a service to our students, right? It'll be community service, if somebody is interested, please let me know right now. So then we can, I can send you a form. So I just need only 3 to 4 hours per year. So only 2 meetings happens per year. So